I wish I had a pound for every time I've been asked about evaluative processes and measuring impact. Because on a personal level, you do something, you walk in, you struggle, and at the end of it, you succeed because you see somebody smile for the first time. When you're working with incredibly introverted individuals, because I take it on an individual level, that somebody at the beginning of that session sat in a corner and didn't speak, didn't even make eye contact, but by the end of that session was right in the thick of it and actually giving their opinion. And that to me is success.
You'd have seen me before I did the project. I was a very quiet vice chair. Now they can't shut me up. And that's all due to projects like this. And I'm glad to see these projects like this around in Salford to help people like me. And I have, from doing this project, come a long way. Within myself, it's built my self-confidence up, my self-esteem. I'm doing more. I mean, if you knew me before, I was dead quiet. I wouldn't be boo to a goose. I mean, when I first met Fizz, I think, my head was down at the table like that. I wouldn't even look at anyone, so.
The challenge is balancing, especially when you're funded, balancing what you perceive as success with what the funders actually want. And quite often, you're balancing between person-centred and structural kind of, funding-centred categorisation. And there's always criticism of our sector about not being very good at, showing what we do, mostly because we're so busy doing it. But actually, I've probably tried just about every mechanism going, the last of them being social return on investment model, which cost us a fortune, took a year to produce. We worked with several groups, young people and older people. What it did do for us was develop this theory of change model that we could then lift up and use in a much simpler way. And it also gave us, and I love diagrams and charts, and I'm a visual person, so I can't stand, don't ask me to read a report, don't ask me to write one. Get me to make you a film, or, there are lots of ways of showing what success looks like. The challenge, I think, is not about that. We do need to think about markers for success, and we need to come into some agreement about what they should be. Not that we spent all the money and we worked with 10,000 people, but actually what change happened.
I look back over sort of like the 12-month plus that I've been doing it, and I think I've done so much in so little time, and it amazes me in a sense. Before
I did this, I had nothing to do, so I was just going around causing havoc everywhere, which put strain on mine and my dad's relationship. So then when I started doing this, I settled down a lot more, started being a lot more calmer, which sort of helped me and my dad out. We started talking more. Managed to speak to him more about my mum and that. So it sort of brought me round. So me and my dad are really, really close now. I want my daddy to pieces.
There is a difference between just collecting data and actually evaluating that impact and change process. But more importantly, once you've done all that and you hand that over to your funder or the partner or whoever, that they're actually reading it, and not just reading it, that it has an impact on them and hopefully enables them to change the way they make commission or fund activity and recognise good practice, because everybody talks about it. There's lots of terms, and I've heard lots of them during this whole week, and I think we have to reevaluate what those terms mean, because they become so commonly used that we need to redraw, what does it actually mean? So what is good practice? Because lots of things I've seen that happens at a very small micro level is brilliant and works fantastically well, but gets completely ignored by funders because either they've not got the right name or the right profile, and you tend to find that they end up funding the same people over and over again. And that for me means that they're not really innovating, they're not reaching out, they're not bothering to come and look. But there's lots of evaluation stuff that they could read that would help them to do it. And I suppose for me, again, the challenge is, if it means that people want you to work with academics, which is great, they need to make that process of working with academics much easier than it currently is, because it is about building relationships. It's about having a shared common ethos of what you're trying to evaluate, and not just simply becoming the guinea pig for a bigger piece of research that somebody's looking at, but actually that they are giving you something valuable in return.